Hey everybody, welcome back to another episode of Random Chatter. This is our lightning round episode where we're going to bring you all of the stuff that's happened in the last week or so in the news that maybe you're not aware of, or maybe you are already aware of it, but we're going to provide some commentary and tell you what we think. So, kicking things off, one thing that it boggles my mind. So this month, HBO Max is going live with their ad-supported streaming plan, which is $9.99 a month, which is good. It's, $5 off, which is nice. It removes that barrier of entry for people. And that's going to go live pretty much immediately here. Except there's a couple of caveats. So number one, it is going to have ads. Number two, it's not going to allow downloads. If you're watching this on your phone or tablet, you cannot download the episode locally in case, you lose your connectivity or, your office at work, you don't have a good cellular connection or whatever, or you just don't want to pay for the data to download it. No, you're stuck. Also, if you're watching it at home where you don't have to worry about whether or not you have to download it, that's great, right? As long as you're not watching it in 4K. Because you don't have that either.
Well,
but, it's still HBO Max. You still got the whole catalog. You've still got, the new movies that come direct to HBO Max. Except that last part.
Well, that's a good thing.
Because Lou, you don't have those either. So, like Wonder Woman 84, you wouldn't have had that. Godzilla versus Kong, you wouldn't have had that. Any of these other, straight to, same day and date release for theaters. HBO Max.
Right.
Yeah. So saving that $5 a month now
doesn't seem so good.
No.
Because it's not like you are getting the same thing with ads. You're getting a severely stripped down version.
You're only getting the old stuff. Well, I mean, you're getting new shows. Okay, like when the next season of Westworld comes out or whatever. You're getting all that. But you're not getting. The big stuff is the theatrical releases. Everybody does 4K now. You're not getting that. The downloads thing, I don't think is as big a deal as people think. I think it's just one of those things where there were these other big things, so people also threw in that complaint.
It'll be a big thing once you start traveling on airplanes again.
Well, that's a good point. I didn't even think about that. People who travel a lot, they really do. Sure. They download stuff locally. Oh, that's a good point.
You can't. Unless you want to pay for Wi-Fi in the
plane. What though? If you're traveling a lot and you're doing that, I imagine you're probably on the $15 tier anyway. Like you're, And I imagine it's because they can't really do the ad thing very well if it's downloaded. So that makes sense from a technological point of view. I can forgive that one. I get it. But the other stuff, saving that $5, it's just not worth it anymore.
Yeah. No, it does definitely doesn't seem. You're really getting a very, very different product. Yeah. It's not just adding ads to it.
Yeah.
And maybe they're doing that purposely because they say, see, $15 a month wasn't that expensive to begin with.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But it's like saying, okay, well, we'll cut it down to $8.99 a month and you can only watch Friends. That doesn't mean that the $15 wasn't a ripoff. It just and I'm not saying it's a ripoff, but it's just saying, well, no, you took everything away and you still want money. That doesn't make the other thing justified. But yeah, You're right. That's probably. I wonder if maybe they're not kind of pushing for that. Plus, they probably make more than $15 a month on those users for the ads. Which I think is my point. Like they probably could have dropped it down to $6.99, $7.99.
Yeah.
Tim, every time we record, people in the chat room are like, wow, look at that shrine you've got behind you. That's awesome. Can you zoom in on that thing over there in the corner off to the left? No, we can't.
Why not?
Because I can't have a shrine like that. My stuff, my shrine is up in the attic.
No, I want him to take something down and show it to us.
I want him to take something down and send it to us.
Just grab something. Yeah, that too.
No, don't get grabby on camera, Tim. That never goes well. So, hi, everybody in the chat room, by the way.
It's actually not behind me. That's the thing. It's in another room. This is a picture of it that I put in as a backdrop. because I was so freaking tired of seeing Tom's collection behind him.
Yeah, Tom's
which is-
got a collection.
That's
Yeah.
his actual collection. That is not a picture of his collection. It's not a picture of someone else's collection. No, that's his. And actually, that's only part of his.
Yeah.
But still, I thought, hey, you know what? I'm going to take a picture of mine and put it behind me.
Which I have to say, first of all, I love the fact that you don't have that ghosting effect like Lou, no offense to Lou, but like Lou does when it tries to like automatically remove your background. Like you don't have that anymore. And it used to be crazy on your camera, Tim. But then the other thing is, so everybody, to be clear, that is his real collection. That is like around the corner from his room and like down and to the right a little bit. Like you'd have to turn. It's real. That's just not really where he is. He's just down the hallway. It's weird. Matte painting. Yeah, there you go, Fetmatic. It's Tim's matte painting. All right, moving along with the lightning round, or else this won't be much of a lightning round. One of the other big stories this week is The Quiet Place 2, which, again, if you're willing to see something in the theaters, please go see this movie. This was just such a good movie to return to the theaters for. And that's aside from me just wanting to support John Krasinski. As both a filmmaker and just as a human being, he's a great guy. Anyhow, it brought in $57 million over the holiday weekend.
That's like, those are great numbers. Those are numbers we haven't seen in a long time.
Here's what makes that really interesting, because to that point, Tim, without looking at the show notes, unless you guys already did, how much do you think it was slated to have brought in pre-pandemic? Because this movie was one of the first to be canceled. It had its red carpet premiere. And then it had a release date. And then the pandemic happened. The stuff might have already been distributed to some of the theaters. I don't know. Like it was that close. It was one of the very first. It was the first weekend really where all the theaters shut down.
Okay. It's funny. I don't think I remember what a good box office take is supposed to be for the first weekend anymore. It's like, it's been so long since we've talked about that. I'm like, okay, is a good weekend $100 million or is it $40 million? I don't even,
and
I can't even remember.
What's interesting, Lou, is I went to look this up because we've been using Box Office Mojo for ages. It's what we used to use for our movie draft. And when we had the discussion about getting back to theaters again, I forgot to bring up the movie draft. I miss our movie drafts. So to that point, I went to boxofficemojo.net, and you know what happened? I got Amazon. I thought, wait a minute. So I go back in.
Boxofficemojo.com.
And I typed it in again. Is it .com or .net?
.com is what I've always used.
I thought I used .net. Maybe that's my fault then. Type in .com and see what you get, Lou. Do you get the site?
Give me a second.
If you do, look up what A Quiet Place 1 did in the theaters.
I do. Box Office Mojo by IMDb Pro.
Good. Okay, so that was my fault. So look up A Quiet Place 1 and see what it made in the theaters. So a good movie, like a big box office release, like a tent pole is going to make $100 million or something like that. $60 million is a pretty solid release. Okay.
So A Quiet Place, the first one in 2018, domestic opening was $50 million.
$50 million for the first one.
Yep.
This one made 57 when the theaters aren't even all open yet. And it was slated pre-pandemic. The expectation was it was going to make 60 in its opening weekend. So in the pandemic, it still made almost as much as it was expected to do before any of this COVID stuff happened.
I'm surprised it only slated for 60 when the first one made 50 opening weekend, did 188 domestically over its whole run. And had a crazy following after it was released. I would think that this one would do a lot more than 60 opening than based on that.
Well, I know it's been a long time.
Pre-pandemic times.
I know it's been a really long time, but back in the time before, as it's now called, the time before, think way back, there used to be multiple movies that would come out on the same weekend. And they would compete. So we would actually have to look to see what else was supposed to have released that weekend, because that could have affected things too. It could have been that it was up against, I don't know, Black Widow or something, in which case it never would have had a chance.
And, speaking of the before times, now that the traffic is getting busier, I miss the pandemic. Sorry.
Too soon, Lou.
I know.
Too soon. I'm so glad that we can start getting back to theaters again, carefully. I mean, again, I want to.
Yeah, I have yet to go, but I'm planning on it.
And listen, and that's cool. And I know some people don't plan to go back for a while. I support that. Like, I fully support that. As someone who wants to get the theaters back up and running, you are responsible for you, and you do what you believe to be the right thing. Please, whatever that may be. We might disagree on what the right thing is. I don't care. If your intentions are that you're doing the right thing, that's what I care about. Do the right thing. If you feel the right thing for you because you're vaccinated is that it's okay to go to theaters again, A Quiet Place 2 is a great place to start. Anyway, so great job. 57 million on an expectation pre-pandemic of 60 million. That's incredible. Like, that's so good. I'm so happy for them. I am excited by this. In comparison to that, the number 2 film, Cruella, brought in 26.5 million. Now, keep in mind, Cruella was also available on Disney Plus, which is how a lot of people saw it, by paying the $30. So that clearly takes away from some of the box office money too. But still, that's not bad either. 26.5 million. So the box office is returning. There was some other news. I actually don't have it in the show notes here, but different theaters have been making deals with different production studios and stuff. Well, we talked a little bit about that when we were discussing the windows, the release windows in between theaters and streaming and stuff. So some theaters have gotten deals with different studios and such. So that's some good news, and it's nice to bring some good news for once. Little piece of bad news, and then we're going to get back into some more good news again. This is bad news to me because I'm a fan of the show. Jupiter's Legacy on Netflix, which was the first in the Millerverse by Mark Miller. He signed a big deal with Netflix. That is not getting a season 2. Season 2 has been canceled.
Really?
The actors have been released from their contracts.
Just gonna start watching that.
It's really good. But I think they really failed in both marketing it and getting people to understand what the show was, and they should have marketed it as part of a bigger universe. Because I think that would have brought more people in too if they knew, hey, this is like a little mini MCU or something. I think that alone would have made people think, okay, it's okay for me to invest in it because it's going to be around for a while. Now, that universe, deal still exists. And there is going to be a spin-off show called Super Crooks. I don't know if it's going to have any of the same actors in it, any of the same characters. But I got to say, the world building was good. It was well written. The characters were interesting. The acting was good. There were some parts that could have been improved. It wasn't perfect, but it was good. And I look forward to this Super Crooks show. But I would say watch it anyway. A lot of times something gets canceled and I'm like, Debris got canceled. I'm like, I'm not going to finish it. But for this, because there's a universe being spun off of it, I imagine that there are still things that are going to happen in this show that are going to be relevant in the spin-offs. So it might still be worth the investment of watching the show. So.
Okay. Fair enough.
Blumhouse is now in production on the Firestarter remake, which is being led by Zac Efron. Firestarter, I don't know if I've watched the original movie. I think it had a young Drew Barrymore in it or something. It was back in the early 80s.
It did. Yeah, it did.
Okay. Yep. It's a Stephen King novel. Tim, have you seen the first movie or read the novel?
Something tells me I've seen the movie.
Yeah.
And this didn't come out too long ago, right? This is maybe like 5 or 6 years ago.
No, this is like I was in middle school.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah, Drew Barrymore was
her first role.
An 8-year-old kid or something. It was like her next movie after E.T.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, then I've not seen it.
All right. I vaguely remember a little bit of the book. I remember nothing of the movie. And I don't know, Stephen King stuff, it's kind of hit or miss. But I think his earlier stuff probably had a little more oomph behind it.
I never read the book, and I think I want to go back and read it now.
I remember thinking the book was okay at the time.
The movie was okay. Was it? I saw the movie, but...
Well, it's being remade, and I guess it's being led by Zac Efron. I don't know if that means that he's one of the main stars, or if he's producing, or what that means, but I guess we'll find out. Speaking of producers, J.J. Abrams recently confirmed, I think probably in the Collider interview that we were talking about on Force Chatter, that the Portal movie is still a go. Like it's actively, I think the way he put it was, it's as active as anything is able to be in Hollywood. As if like it's moving, it's happening, like filming hasn't started yet, but at the stage it's at, it's moving as much as something can move. It's coming. He's proud of the team he has working on it, et cetera, et cetera. He did confirm that there is not going to be any sort of a Half-Life movie or involvement in it. For those who don't know, Portal is one of the best video games ever made, and it's a spin-off from the Half-Life video game series.
Right.
So you guys have both played Portal, right? Tim, please.
I have a little bit.
Okay.
Not a lot.
Okay. You need to go back and play it a lot, and then play it again a lot, and then play Portal 2, and then go back for nostalgic purposes and play Portal 1 again.
Probably.
Best video game ever. Just saying. All right. The Wheel of Time. This is... Lou, you're more likely to have read this than I am. It's it's a fantasy series, and there's like 370 books in the series or something.
I heard of it. I've never read any of it.
Okay. I keep hearing from people that it's a really long series where basically the author just keeps writing and keeps writing and keeps writing and doesn't end it.
Exactly. Yeah, I've heard the same thing. Yeah, there are like 57... I don't know.
We're kidding. There's not that many, but it's long. It's like, I mean, there's well over 10 books in the series.
Yeah, there's 14.
14.
According to Wikipedia.
Wow. Okay. Yep. So it's long, and there are some people who are diehard fans and some people have mixed opinions. Amazon is developing a series for it, and they just greenlit season 2. Season 1 hasn't come out yet. And that's interesting because it's going to be a very expensive thing. I mean, we're talking epic, like on Lord of the Rings, Game of Thrones sort of level.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
And to greenlight a second season before the first season, like we don't even have trailers for it yet. I don't know. I guess that's a good sign. Tim, you have any interest in this? Do you know anything about the series?
I know nothing about it.
Me either. I'm sure some of our audience does though. So, hop into Discord. We do have, we're going to save this for the end of the show. I'll say it now. We no longer run a Random Chatter Discord server. We do, however, participate in another server called the Escape Hatch, and we have a link on the Random Chatter site to get you in there more directly. So randomchatter.com/escape hatch, all lowercase, all one word. And come talk to us in Discord there. We do have a Random Chatter channel in that server, and let us know what you think. Wheel of Time, it is good, bad? You excited about the series? Any thoughts? Let us know. Help educate we ignorant people, because it's a big series and I feel like we should know something about it. What else do we have? Robbie and Stephen Amell from Arrow. So Stephen Amell was the main character in Arrow, and Robbie Amell played, I think, his cousin in the show. No, Robbie Amell's his cousin in real life, I think. I think that's what it is. They did a sci-fi movie, an independent movie called Code 8 a few years back. And for an independent film, it was pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all right. They're doing a sequel called Code 8 Part 2, which is good. At least they didn't call it Code 9. Because
I was going to say, it makes sense for that to be the name of the sequel.
No.
Yeah.
I mean, good job naming it.
No. Yeah. No, they did a good job there. And they did a pretty good job with the first one. The world building was good, the concept and everything. And, for an independent film, it was fun. It was good. Plus, I like Stephen Amell. Like, just even as a person, like he seems like a good guy. The only other thing I've got in the lightning round is apparently there was a sequel announced to Cruella. Now, I know Emma Stone she was a proponent for getting similar movies for other Disney villains like Ursula and stuff like that, but I hadn't heard anything about a sequel. Tim, you threw this in here, right?
Yeah, they just announced this on Friday.
Okay.
It's, apparently obviously done so incredibly well on Disney Plus that they greenlit it. So, clearly, at least to me, it was something that they had talked about beforehand and kind of had some concepts and some ideas of it.
Yeah.
And the success, had them greenlight it. So I think it's great. I really, really love the movie. And there is obviously a time frame within the lore of Dalmatians that, they can very easily set a sequel in without really bumping up against the original film. So
sure.
I think it totally works.
My question is, what would they make a sequel about? I don't see a story there. To what Lou was saying in the review show when we covered it, because Lou, you had just seen Cruella just recently, and we're going to talk about Cruella on Movie Chatter on Tuesday night. I liked the movie. I'm with you, Tim, and so that's fine. And Lou, I also understand your point of, we know where it goes, and it does not go to a good place. And so it's a little hard to root for that character. Well, now she's in a position where, like, we felt sympathetic toward her for a while, and so she, without spoiling the movie, the conflict was between her and another kind of abusive person toward her. And there was a conflict and a rivalry. And so that rivalry has been resolved. And so now, where do you go with that? Like, it's hard to find any more sympathy for that character. And now you just go straight into villain. And I don't know.
Yeah. And it's so difficult to root a story in a villain when they are solely being villainous. That's the thing. I mean,
right.
I love the sympathetic antagonist type of thing, which is why this first movie just works so well, I think. For the second film, I think eventually it does have to get, the end of that arc does need to get her to pure villain, but obviously they need to come up with a driving force to get her from, she went from point A to point B. Now she has to get from B to C. And there has to be a journey there that you're still sympathetic with her, at least through most of it. But then they risk just kind of dropping off, like, oh,
yeah.
okay.
And that's the thing. I don't see a way where they can make us feel sympathy for. Here's the thing about Cruella de Vil as a Disney villain. Growing up during that big era of Disney animated movies and stuff, I grew up mainly in the late 70s, mostly through the 80s, etc. When you think back to Disney villains, I mean, you had the evil stepmother from Cinderella. Okay. Well, I mean, she was a bad stepmother, but like evil. Yeah, okay. Not very nice. Probably, abusive and didn't treat Cinderella well. You've got the Queen in Snow White. And that was, I mean, she was kind of evilish, but you could kind of understand, this person was a threat to her and her reign, so she hired someone to go kill her. A bad thing, an evil thing, but like, you get it. Okay. And you go through all of the list of the different Disney villains, and there's some reason, some motivation for them doing all these different things. And then you get to Cruella de Vil in a pretty otherwise innocuous Disney movie about 101 little puppy dogs running around someone's house. And I'm thinking, my gosh, how much do they have to spend in dog food each week? Like those poor humans. But this villain, her whole shtick is she wants to to kidnap 101 puppies, kill them, skin them, make a coat out of their pelts. Not dogs, puppies.
Wow, Eric, you just brought this whole episode like
because the
major
fur's
downer.
softer. Yeah,
I'm just saying, like, it's really difficult to make me feel any level of compassion for someone who, and it's not like, I mean, what would ever justify that? And even watching the Cruella movie, like, you feel some empathy and sympathy toward her, but then, like, she, again, without spoilers, like, she succeeds at her thing. Okay, great. You're no longer so messed up in the head that you should go kidnapping over 100 puppy dogs to skin them and make a coat out of them. Like, that's just, the evilness of that is at such a higher level. If you made a movie where I'm supposed to sympathize with the evil queen from Snow White, I'd have an easier time with it. And they did Maleficent, right? From Sleeping Beauty, which I haven't seen, but like, I kind of get that a little bit.
Oh, Maleficent was a great
Was
movie.
it?
That's another one where you have this, they create a sympathetic villain.
Okay. I can't feel
and they
sympathy
do
for
such a good
Cruella
job of
de
it.
Vil, though. Maleficent didn't want to I was really tempted to get like really graphic with like the hand motions and stuff about, you know, making the coat, and I won't because it's just so bad. There's nothing that is not the apex of evil about just wanting to kidnap and slaughter puppies for the sake of making a coat. Find me a Disney villain who's worse. Palpatine? No. Like there's nobody that's that bad. I would rather watch a movie about Palpatine growing up and all the hardship he went through than you can't do a Cruella sequel. I'm sorry. I'll get off my soapbox. It's too much. You can't. There's nowhere to go.
You know, and the thing is, it is the Hollywood problem that a movie is successful and automatically people want a sequel because they love, you know, in terms of the fans love the character, they love the concept, they love the story, the whatever. And then in terms of the studio loves money. And so they think, oh, well, this is fantastic. Movie 1 was a big hit. So yeah, duh, no brainer. We're going to make a movie 2. But then the challenge they have is, well, can you tell a compelling story for movie 2? Some things are just best left alone as one film.
Plus, you have a sequel already. It's called 101 Dalmatians. And you have another sequel. It's called 102 Dalmatians.
Though, like I said, I will argue that there definitely is a time period that exists between the end of Cruella and 101 Dalmatians. So there is a story to be told, but is it a story that is worthwhile to be told?
Did you see the mid-credit scene? Did you see the mid-credit scene in Cruella?
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So,
and they leaned right into that.
And so that time
linkage.
frame, how long does a dog live?
Well, not long.
Right. You've only got a certain period, a very narrow window between Cruella and 101 Dalmatians now.
That's true, but also, you know, I mean, arguably you can, if you're going to have a 2-hour movie, the time period that movie covers can be anywhere from 2 hours to 2 days to 2 weeks. So, it doesn't have to be a big period of time, but you do have her going off. There's something that pushed her off the ledge. Either that or the Cruella sequel.
Jim, that was the dogs that pushed it. No mind.
That's true. Or the Cruella sequel does end up simply being a retelling of 101 Dalmatians, which I would be cool with.
Didn't they do a live action 101 Dalmatians?
Yes, let's do it again.
Yeah, it didn't look that good the first time. Fetmatic in the chat room. Palpatine destroyed worlds and systems. Yeah, but he didn't skin puppies just for the sake of making a coat.
You don't know that.
He had a reason for destroying worlds and systems.
Yeah, he had a reason.
Just like Thanos did. Thanos had a really well thought out, reason for what he did.
He did.
He did.
Even
There-
Thanos.
When you listen,
Even
when you listen to
Thanos,
that
not
speech,
as
you're
evil
like,
as Cruella.
you're like, yeah, you're on the right track there, buddy. I kind of see that.
Yeah. I'm just saying. I'm just saying. We don't need a Cruella sequel. Too much. All right. That should probably do it for the lightning round, because now, thanks to the return of the infamous quote, Erik Rant, it's no longer really a lightning episode. It's a little longer, but that's okay. That's going to do it for this episode of Random Chatter, though. Be sure to check us out Tuesday night. We are going to be covering Cruella on Movie Chatter. And from the sounds of it, it's going to be very interesting, because Lou and Robin are not going to agree. And it's Nope. And it's going to be quite the episode, I promise. Thursday night, I think we're still bringing back the Star Wars RPG session. We were going to do it this past weekend, and I kind of chickened out, and then things fell apart, but we're going to bring that back. And then next week, we're going to have more movies. We're going to have more TV shows and streams, and we're going to have more Star Wars news next Sunday night. To catch all of that, go to youtube.com/randomchatter. Click the subscribe button. And then if you'd like, click the notification button, and you will get notified anytime we go live or have new episodes for you to watch. All right. And then if you like the episode, hit the like button too. That helps us out. But that's going to do it for this episode of Random Chatter. Thank you for hanging out with us. Thank you to everybody in the chat room for sticking around. And we will be back with more content very soon. Until then, take care.